something that is transitory. It just flies away. And usually when you talk about transitory dreams, we can say the causes are natural. Possibly it is one of the reasons why people do not believe in dreams, because in Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 3a, the preacher says, "For a dream cometh through the multitude of business." In other words, what you encountered in the course of the day, or what you were thinking about, what you were meditating on, sometimes you could be playing some music before going to bed, or whilst you are preparing to sleep. And then as you sleep, it looks as if someone is playing the same music in your dream. So that's why Ecclesiastes 5 3a says, "For a dream cometh through the multitude of business." So this is what we call ordinary transitory dreams. And then there is what you call revelatory dreams. And then when we talk about revelatory dreams, they are the kind of dreams whereby deities convey certain messages to the dreamers. And I use the word deities because oftentimes some people think it is only Christians or religious people who dream. But before the advent of Christianity and Islam and other religious persuasions, our forefathers used to dream. So we have revelatory dreams. And if you study the Old Testament, you discover that dream was not talking about dreams was not only prevalent among the Jews or the Hebrews, but in the ancient Near East, the people around the area, they all encountered this phenomenon. Let me cite some examples. And these deities, they can either be other gods or the God of the Bible. So in Egypt, let me cite two examples in Egypt. If you look at Genesis chapter 40, where we have the baker and the butler, when they had a dream, the Bible said when they woke up from the dream, they were worried. Now, the legitimate question to ask is, why were they worried? Now, that means that they were worried because in their orientation, they knew that deities had a way of communicating messages through dreams. So they were trying to figure out, what is it that the supernatural wants to communicate to me? Assuming there were people who did not believe in dreams, they wouldn't have bothered about it in the first place. Now we hear of Pharaoh in Genesis chapter 41 verse 8. The Bible said Pharaoh had a dream, and when he woke up from the dream, his spirit was troubled to the extent that he called magicians, he called seers, to interpret the dreams. Now, why does he call magicians? Why does he call seers? Because those people represented the deities on the land. So it means that Pharaoh also believed that the supernatural could send a message to human beings through dreams. So if that is the case, let me call the mouthpiece of the gods to come and explain to me what I've seen. In Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and the Bible said his spirit was troubled to the extent that he also commanded, the Bible said he called or commanded to call magicians, astrologers, sorcerers. Why? Because they were also representing the deities. So it was a way of trying to decode what he felt he had seen. So these are other gods. What about God, the God of the Bible? If you look at Deuteronomy 12:6, Scripture says, "If there be a prophet among you, I speak to him in dreams." I speak to him in dreams. That means that there is the possibility that God can use a dream to communicate something to somebody. Now in Judges 7:13-12, Gideon was going for a battle, and God said, "I want you to have a sign," and the sign is, go to the camp of the enemy and then pay attention to what is happening. Scripture tells us he goes, and then he hears a conversation. Someone has a dream, and the person is talking to another person about the dream, and the one listening interpreted the dream to mean the people are going to fall by the sword of Gideon. So it means that the Hebrews also had that understanding. And then Joseph has a dream, and immediately he speaks. All the brothers, the father, all of them, family members, understood the dream. And the Bible said he talks about sheaves, and his sheaf stood upright, and theirs were bowing down to him. And that dream simply meant that the people were going to bow to him. So they said, "Are you saying your father, your mother, and your brothers are going to bow?" Now, how are they going to bow? they only bowed at a time when they came to buy food. So he saw sheaf and sheaf grain, food. Yes. So God was speaking to him that the time is coming because of food, they are going to bow down to you. Now, if you go into the New Testament, but before I go to the New Testament, let me say this thing. The reason why this thing is significant, because, man of God, you cannot have a dream in a vision. But you can have a vision in a dream. You cannot have a dream in a vision.
Break that down. You
cannot have a dream in a vision. For instance, you were a man of God. God can be speaking to you at a time when you are not sleeping. So that's a vision.
Okay.
You may not have to dream. And in that vision, you will not dream in that vision. But you could be sleeping. And then in a dream, God gives you a vision through the dream. So we see an example in Daniel chapter 7 verse 1, verse 2, 7 and 13, where the Bible says, a dream in which there were several visions of his head. A dream in which there were several visions of his head upon his bed. Now, why is this so? It means that when we talk about dream in this sense, we are talking about the sleeping state of prophetic receptivity. So whilst you are sleeping, there is an atmosphere. An atmosphere is created to be able to receive. But the visions in this particular dream talks about the segment, the segment of informations that God was given to the prophet as at that time in that particular dream. These are not the only examples. Somebody might be saying, well, these are Old Testament, so I'm a New Testament believer. But if you check what scholars say, scholars tell us that it was not only in the Old Testament that people believed that God communicated through visions and in dreams, but even in the New Testament. So in the context or in the time in which the New Testament was written, if you go into the Greco-Roman world, literature concerning the Greco-Roman world, you discover that people have written a lot about dreams, interpretation of dreams. So this is not the first time somebody is writing on dreams and interpretation. It is something that predates us. It means that even us at that time, they had the understanding that God could communicate. No wonder in the New Testament, for instance, if we go to the book of Matthew, God communicated significant messages to people concerning even Jesus Christ. So we see that in Matthew does not just state that God gave a message through a dream, but he also emphasizes the meaning of the dream. For example, we see in the infancy narrative, the birth of Christ, we see in Matthew chapter 2, verse 12 to 13, where God uses a dream to warn Joseph, and he uses a dream to warn the wise men. So in that same chapter, within a space of 2 verses, he uses dreams to communicate to 2 important people who had information about Jesus. We see also in Matthew 27:19, where Pilate's wife had a dream and communicated to the husband that, look, this is an innocent man who does not need to die. And it was God's way to prove that consistently and continuously he was doing something to intervene on behalf of his son. So if you look at all these factors, we can say I have talked about ordinary dreams, transitory dreams, which come about as a result of the multitude of business. So what we do gets into our dream, and I've talked about revelatory, where in this case we can have a dream from God, a dream from other deities. So these are the sources
which carries revelation. They gave us vision or direction,
messages from the divine to us. So basically, these are the sources where we can say dreams, how dreams come about.
Is this only these 3 categories of dreams?
These categories are broad categories. But under them, we can have other subsets. In the Bible talks about prophets speaking their dreams, or what I have not said to them. That is imagination. Their imagination. Sometimes somebody's imaginations becomes a dream. Somebody's imagination. So basically, these are the way dreams come about.
Okay. On that score, I would want to ask: do dreams have sources, and what are these sources? You mentioned that it can come from the business of life, or what we go through every now and then, and also from the source of God. Are there any other means by which dreams come about?
I think, to the best of my knowledge, we can talk about only God speaking to us. People who don't know the God we know, they have other gods speaking to them. And then the businesses we do, our daily businesses, reflecting in our dreams. Unless we want to talk about dream in the sense of pursuit.
Okay.
Without that, I think these are the sources of dreams.
Okay. So what is the line between dreams and an out-of-body experience?
Okay, you see, to the best of my knowledge, I think that dreams and out-of-body experiences are quite different.
Okay.
Because let me pick it from the biblical perspective. If you look at Genesis 2, the creation of man, the Bible said he created, he formed, and he breathed into man the breath of life. And if you look at the narrative, it looks as if God took time to, mold, and then took another time to breathe.
Okay.
But if you look at scholarly argument concerning the text, some have argued that these actions happen concurrently. In other words, God did not spend time to create and then spend another time to breathe. But these things happened one and at a time. How do we know this? They use the argument of procreation. Because before the child enters the womb, both the material and the immaterial come together. Otherwise, the child cannot have life.
Okay.
So when we talk about an out-of-body experience, usually an out-of-body experience happen where people are unconscious of what is happening around them. So that is an out-of-body experience. But the question is, in dreams, sometimes you could be dreaming. A good dream, somebody calls you and you wake up. Somebody just taps you and you wake up. It means that at that time, it cannot be described as an out-of-body experience. Otherwise, you would have been unconscious to your surroundings.
Even though somebody touches you whilst you were dreaming.
You'll be on that land. Usually, people who have those experiences, sometimes people are even crying in the room. What is happening? Then when they regain consciousness, they tell you, well, I saw myself at this place, yet they were being pulled and they didn't hear anything. So basically, they are not the same. An out-of-body experience, somebody may be unconscious of what is happening. But in the case of a dream, somebody can just call your name and then the dream disappears. Or shake you and you say, I was in a good dream and you just spoiled my day. So basically, these are the distinctions.
It's quite interesting. This out-of-body experience, we've heard several testimonies of people, some of them probably may be on the operation table, being operated upon in hospital, and it looks like in the transient moment they passed, and they were observing what was being done to their bodies in the theater. I mean, how is that possible?
The supernatural in the spirit realm, anything is possible. But like you said, in the case of dreams, I don't want us to, we cannot use our experiences as the barometer.
Okay.
But I have never heard or read of anybody who had a dream, and in that dream, the person was observing himself or herself in that manner in which the case of the out-of-body experience at the hospital happened.
Okay.
So basically, there is a difference.
Okay. One more question, and then we will join our people. I mean, the WhatsApp is just being flooded with a lot of questions. People asking all manner of questions. We'll come to you in a minute. But do we have control over what we dream about, or are we responsible for our actions in our dreams?
I would say yes.
Okay.
And no.
We have control over what we dream.
I would say yes.
Yes and no. Okay. Why yes and why no?
Why do I say yes? I say yes because, like we spoke about the what do you call the ordinary transitory dreams.
Okay.
Where what you are doing can come up in a dream.
Okay.
The business of the day. So in that case, you created an atmosphere. Okay. You determined what happened, and it happened.
Okay.
But when it is not the ordinary transitory dream and it is revelatory, where God is speaking a word to you, you do not have control.
Okay.
You don't even know God was going to speak to you at that time. So that's why I say yes, depending on the kind of dream, and no.
Okay. Are we responsible for our actions and our dreams?
We are not.
I mean, I know people will have, a lot of people have this kind of dreams where you are fighting with somebody, or you hit somebody, or something like that. Those actions.
Okay. Can we say we were actually responsible? Because sometimes, as a pastor, somebody tells you, Pastor, last night I had a dream. Somebody was coming to beat me up. You just appeared and you fought for me.
Okay.
The question is, was it the pastor who fought?
Was it him? Yeah. Well, we need to clear that thing.
Okay.
For instance, if, like you just narrated, a member of your church comes to you to say, "Oh, I was going through this difficult thing in my dream," and then suddenly you appeared.
Yeah.
Is it you that appeared, or what is it that appeared in that person's dream?
I think that God has a way of communicating to people, and then he likes to, or often, if you look at biblical records, speak to us in a language we understand.
Okay.
And so, using me as your pastor, God is trying to possibly portray that your pastor is interceding for you. But at that time, the pastor could be praying or could even be sleeping.
Sleeping, yeah.
So it
may
could
not
not
be even
have
aware.
been the pastor. But God just used the face of the pastor because that is a language the person understands.
Okay. That's somebody you can connect or relate with it. And if you will, his spiritual authority over your life.
Yes. Okay. So I cannot say that because 2 people, 3 people came to me and said, "Pastor, we saw you in our dreams." I cannot say I appear in dreams.
Well, so those who are going about and say, "I will appear in your dream and I come and do this to you or do that to you," and I can, where from that?
I think that they are the best.
They can come in they can come in a lion or a snake or something like that.
To the best of my knowledge, when God uses a man of God or anybody and reveals himself through the person or uses the face of the person in a dream, it does not really mean the person did it. God could be communicating with you in a language you understand.
What if you see a dream in somebody that you know and you're close to, but in the dream they seem to want to hurt you or harm you?
It could also happen. That's why I said God using somebody. Now, if God is speaking to you in a language you understand, it is also possible that it could be true. It is also possible someone is also using,
impersonating,
the face of that person to harass you in a dream.
Okay. All right. So time exactly 8:33. I believe we can take a few more of a lot of questions coming on the WhatsApp platform and that also. But we're discussing dreams. We have learned about ordinary transitory dreams, and then also the revelatory dreams that God may be communicating revelation or visions, giving you directions about life and all that kind of stuff. And we've gone a bit further. So we will come to the question about what are the dangers of sharing your dreams. For instance, if by this I mean a revelatory dream that God gives you, what is the danger in sharing it with people around you? Maybe your pastor, your wife, your friends, or what have you. Buying from the experience of Joseph, who shared his dream with his parents and his family and all the trouble that befell him and all that kind of stuff. But let's try and see if we can take a few of the comments on WhatsApp. We'll answer them and then we'll come back and delve into this matter. Oh boy. Heavy. Okay. First one says, "Hi, good evening, Pastor. I mostly have dreams about my alma mater, that's like his former school. At times, I have those about interviews with global companies. I have been to most of their interviews in reality, but end up in the last but one stage, and that's a course." What does it mean if somebody sees herself in a former school and stuff like that?
Well, I think that in this case, she has not been able to associate what she saw to what is happening. If she could come again and explain better, because if you just tell us that you see yourself
in your former school,
and you have gone for interviews, what is the relationship?
It's like she sees herself in the old school and also maybe see herself in places that she has attended interviews and stuff like that.
Okay. You see, sometimes certain dreams differ. Sometimes when people talk about their dreams, one of the questions I ask is, what was the context? Because there are a lot of information from the context, like the Joseph experience. Joseph speaks about a sheaf. The context is a harvest context. So based on that, you can have an understanding.
Okay.
But just seeing something without giving specific details, we might err in the interpretation if those details about the context are not available to us.
Okay. All right. One says, Rev, what of if you keep dreaming of your dad passing away several times whilst he's already late? What does it mean? You keep seeing your late father like he's dying consistently several times every time you have a dream.
Well, there could be possible death.
Okay.
Okay. There could be possible spirit of death. Or it could be
hunting the person who's having those dreams.
Yes.
Wow.
Or possibly death wants to visit a member or a dear person, somebody close to that person. If the father is late, then it cannot be the father. It could be death, hunting, or indicating that there is somebody that can possibly die.
Yeah. So what do they do in the face of that? They need to pray.
In the face of that, prayer.
Okay.
Prayer. And prayer, and sometimes you need counseling.
Okay.
You need to have somebody who's knowledgeable in these things to tell you, teach you certain things.
Okay.
Counseling and counseling.
Okay.
So the person teaches you to have an understanding and stands upon the word of God to counsel certain things.
Okay. Evans in Tessana says, good evening. I always forget my dreams when I wake up. A lot of people have those challenges. Yeah. What happens? What if God probably was communicating major revelation or visions to them, but they wake up and it is gone? Okay. They can't remember anything.
Okay.
What happens to their life, the lives of such people?
I think that if you are such a person, you need to have something like a book, pen by your side. For instance, when I have a dream and I wake up and I know that this is a possible divine communication or revelation, what I do is that I write it in a book. I have a particular WhatsApp line I use for those things.
Okay.
I type it, send it to that number and keep it.
Okay.
So anytime I can go back to look at the things God has spoken to me about.
Okay. So if you need to pray, Evans in Tessada, you need to pray. Hetty says, good evening, Reverend. Please, my brother dreamed of picking mushrooms. Please, can you interpret it for me? Lord, I knew plenty of this was going to come very soon. We'll be going to interpret when you see yourself eating atia. Okay, all right.
You see, I think that, Rev, the problem is people have given us a straitjacket explanation to certain dreams.
Okay.
So he feels when I see this, it means this. But like I have said, context.
Context, yeah.
Context. We need a lot of information, not just that you saw yourself picking this. We need a lot of vital information.
Okay. All right. Pastor, I had a dream in which I had a welding. Oh, is it a wedding or a wedding? Okay. In a dream, you saw, if I'm right, you had a wedding, but you're still single, and because of the dream, you see yourself.
Okay.
Can you type this again, Kofi? You see yourself getting married, but you're actually single.
Okay. So he's trying to ask if that dream is the reason
he's still single.
He's still single.
Okay.
But there could be many factors to the reason you are still single.
Okay.
Not just a single dream.
Which are, people see themselves in some of those dreams. These are quite very typical if you're dealing with people with issues of marital limitations and embargoes and stuff. They constantly see themselves getting married, but they're single. Or something, they're about to get married. They see themselves in a dream where they're about to get married and something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And then the marriage goes fiasco, and then that seems to persist. Okay. Others to get it in the area of maybe childbirth. Okay. They don't have children physically, but they dream that they have children. What exactly is going on in that regard?
You see, context matters. Before the person had a dream, was it because the person went to bed thinking about the fact that I don't have children, and I had a dream. Or the person was not thinking about that, but God was communicating something to the person that possibly, hold on, don't give up. You are going to have it.
Okay.
The time may not be due yet, but you are going to have it. You see, God often speaks certain good things in difficult times. And I don't know if you have had such experiences where the kind of things God shows you in your dream, when you wake up, you wonder whether you were the same person in the dream. Because mighty things.
Okay.
But those things, the expectations do not collide with your reality.
With your reality.
So it is sometimes God's way of saying, hold on.
Okay.
I'm not done.
Look to the future where I'm taking you to.
I'm still working on something. So that is why he can call Abraham a father of many nations when the person was actually fatherless. So it can happen that way.
Okay. All right. One says, good evening, Pastor Abose. I only dream when I eat too much at night. What kind of dream is that? I told you we're going to get quite a lot of...
And the person has not even said anything about the dream.
Yeah. What you dream about actually is what we need to know. Okay. One says, good evening, Reverend Ransford. These days, I sleep and I dream about a lot of money, but when I wake up, no money. What does that mean? And that's from Seneca Sphincters.
Okay, like I was saying, where you see what does not match your reality.
Okay.
Okay, if you are a strong Christian, it could be God saying, hold on, you are in difficult period,
but I'm bringing you money. I'm bringing you money soon. You better hope that is. Adjoa in the UK says, Pastor, can he please define what a dream is, as some confuse this with visions? I think you did from the beginning. Okay, maybe just scratch the service a bit for Adjoa for us in case she joined up the program a bit late.
Okay, like I said, you can have a vision in a dream, but you cannot have a dream in the vision.
Okay.
In the sense that usually in visions, the person might not be sleeping, and God opens the eyes of the person to see what the natural eye is not seeing.
Okay.
But in dreams, an atmosphere is created for prophetic receptivity, where the person is sleeping, and the sleeping mood becomes the atmosphere where God communicates.
Okay.
So dreams, why do we say someone is daydreaming? What do we mean by daydreaming? Because we have the idea that dreams come at particular times. So if you're experiencing it outside that time, then daydreaming. Okay? So usually in dreams, somebody must sleep for God to communicate. But in visions, you don't need to sleep. However, in the dream whilst we are sleeping, as we have seen, there could be vision still communicating.
And revelation. Okay. All right. I would read this one for now, and then we can go back to some of our questions that we need to answer before tonight. Frank in Achimota says, good evening, man of God. Thanks for this opportunity. I barely dream, but when I do, it's either I see snakes just around or attack, but never succeed or see myself in and around forests. Worst, I hardly generally remember everything. It's been this way almost all my life. I'm 33. Please, what do they mean? Okay. All right. I think that we can come back to a few of them later on. Right. But let's come back to the question on the dangers of sharing your dreams, especially if they are revelatory visions that God is giving to you concerning your future.
Okay. I think that sharing a dream is not a problem. The problem, what brings the danger is the person you are sharing with. I tell people all the time that not every pastor, not even every pastor is wise.
Okay.
Because sometimes you look at certain actions of some pastors and you wonder whether this is a pastor, this is somebody called by God. So be sure that you are communicating the dream to the person you ought to.
Okay. How would you know who you can share your dreams with? Like in the case of Joseph, okay? He had this dream and this revelation. He had his parents and his brothers. Who else would he want to share with?
Okay.
He shared with them, his family, if you will, his immediate family. And that brought hatred and all the kinds of things that followed.
I think that, like I said, who you communicate. Now, concerning that of Joseph, the there wouldn't have been any problem if he had consulted the father.
Okay.
But sharing it in the presence of father and brothers, your mother's rivals, children, that was what brought the problem. Because if you remember, the Bible said the father rebuked him, but observed the saying.
The saying,
so why did the father rebuke him and observe? The father rebuked because what he said in the presence of his brothers, senior brothers, knowing that they all understand, could generate a lot of trouble.
A lot of problem for him.
So as a father, it was a way of rebuking him so that they don't say, okay, he supports him. He gave him a coat of many colors and he supports him. So sometimes know who. Have you tested the person? Sometimes you can test somebody with certain information. Okay? Before you go with some relevant, you just don't go to somebody with a relevant information when you have not tested him with little things. You put yourself into trouble.
Wow. Okay. One more question. How there do you? Is it best, therefore, to maybe hold on to your visions or revelations that you had through dreams without sharing them at all? You keep them to yourself, you pray about it, and you ask God to direct you in how to see it manifested. Would it be best?
I would not. I would say yes and no.
Okay.
You know, sometimes you need to keep certain information, but sometimes certain information you may not have details, or you may not have a full understanding of all the things happening.
Okay.
You can seek the counsel of a man or woman of God who is far older than you, has gone ahead, and may not or would not envy what God says is going to do. You know, you meet some people and they show a lot of concern about your life. They want to see your ministry grow. They want to see if you are doing business, they want to see it grow. And you see that this is a matured Christian, how they handle things. These are the people you go to with certain vital information.
Okay.
Of course, you could decide. It is not compulsory to share every detail of it. Okay. Sometimes you give relevant information that can help the person to interpret and then withhold other important information.
Okay. All right. So is there a way of having how to have a sweet sleep? What exactly a sweet sleep in order to connect sweet dreams, as it were?
For me, I think that we can only pray and trust God.
Okay.
Because even if you pray and trust God and God wants to communicate something significant to you, He would come through that dream to communicate to you.
Okay.
And I think that we should also learn to cast our cares upon Him.
Okay.
Because
Upon God.
Because sometimes when you go to bed and you have not cast your cares upon God, and you are going to bed with all these things, it can disturb your sleep. Because some people go to bed, you are thinking about what to pay here, what to do here, what to do here, and the person has a bed, but the person is going round in circles in the room because of cares. So we just have to cast our cares upon Him. It's one of the ways we can have good sleep. Create a good atmosphere.
Okay.
Go to bed. You are listening to some good worship song. You are listening to some sermons. Not fighting. You are fighting and you are going to bed and you are always fighting, expecting. Are you going to have a Jacob experience in that dream? So it is the atmosphere, and it is by casting all our cares upon God that can create certain atmosphere for us to sometimes have good sleep.
Okay. One question more. What happens if you don't dream at all? There are people that happens to.
Sure. You see, we would not want to use, like I said, our religious experiences to measure others.
Okay.
But what I would say is that God, in His infinite wisdom, does not communicate to us only through dreams. There are many avenues. The dream is only one of the channels. So if you are not dreaming, God could use other means. He could communicate to you through His word. When the preaching of the word is going on, when you are studying the word, He could use all these available means to speak to you.
Okay. All right. We'll go to the phone lines right now. Definitely we'll continue this. We're going possibly next week we can talk about how do we interpret dreams. How do we interpret dreams, and how do we deal with bad dreams? Like you have what people normally will call nightmares. Okay, like somebody just said, you saw yourself, a snake is chasing you, a lion is chasing you, a cow is chasing, that kind of stuff. How do you deal with them? What are their effects on your life if not dealt with, and how do you deal with it? Okay, and then we will we'll see what should be the believer's immediate response or reaction to a dream, whether good or bad. Okay, possibly we'll delve into that next week. But you can join us on the phone lines right now. Lines are opened. Call 0302-216541. Again, 0302-216541. You can join us with any question or comment you have. I'm in studio with Prophet Kelly Godibet Gabing of Incarnate Word Citadel, great man of God and a prophet who have deep insight into dreams and revelations. In the meantime, let me read this from Joey in Tema Committee 2 says, good evening, Pastor Ransford, and to your guest, the prophet. Please, most of the times I forget my dreams when I wake up. And when what I dream about occurs later on, it plays back vividly that I saw this in my dreams sometimes back. Please, can you tell me why so?
That's why
what's exactly is going on here?
That's why I've advised. It does happen to me. Sometimes I dream and I forget.
Okay.
That's why I developed a strategy, having a book
to record,
having WhatsApp to record.
Okay. So it does happen. All right. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
We're doing well. Thank you for joining us on a walk with Jesus.
Thank you too.
Okay.
I'm Godfrey from Kofodia.
Okay, Godfrey.
I have experienced that I dream only when I sleep very early. But and I can't understand that when I don't sleep early, I don't dream.
Okay.
You see, certain things are just natural things which may not have any spiritual connotations.
Yeah. Okay. So it could be that God may be calling you to sleep earlier.
What are the dreams you have?
You have, exactly.
The content is what is important.
The content of your dream is more important than what time you have your dreams and that kind of stuff. Let's talk to Charles in Castle. Hello, Charles. Hello, Charles. Hello, Charles. Okay, sorry. You can try again. Call 0302216541. Let me see some message on WhatsApp. Say, say, good evening, Reverend. Please, why do some people dream in a negative way, but others, whenever they dream, it must surely come to pass? Lord help me. Okay, hello, Charles. Good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening, Charles. How are you? Hello. Sorry, we lost him. Let's talk to Noel Ingbawe. Hello, Noel. Wow. Okay. Looks like we're having a little hustle on the line. Too jammed. Okay. Some messages on WhatsApp. Let's do a bit more. Okay.
I think let me talk about this man's question. Why some people have a dream and it comes to pass.
It comes to pass, yeah.
If you want a dream, if a dream has to come to pass, it should not be what came up during like the ordinary transitory dreams.
Okay.
Where what you have been doing came up in a dream. That kind of dream doesn't come to pass.
Okay.
If it has to come to pass, it should be something God has communicated to you.
So
what kind of dream did you have? If those people have their dreams coming to pass, then it is a possible revelation. Okay, what you got, which was not a revelation, cannot come to pass.
Okay, those which come out of the multitude of your work or your activity of the day, they may not necessarily come to pass. Okay, Joseph Ajima, how are you?
I'm fine. I hope you're also fine.
We're good. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. What's your question, sir?
Yeah, sometimes we dream and it happens to end up to be the negative. What causes that?
Okay, can you break it down? You dream and it's a good thing. The dream you had was good.
Oh, hello?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes you dream that something terrible has happened to somebody.
Okay.
Or you are going to get something better. But at the end of the day, it happens and it turns out to be the opposite side.
I see.
Yeah, I want to know the cause of that.
Okay, thank you.
You see, dreams, that is why I said context. Okay, it is not just about the dream, but it is the environment and the kind of details that brings meaning, that bring meaning to the dream.
Okay.
So if you had a dream, negative, and it came to pass about somebody and it came to pass, did you pray about it? Did you inform the person? Did you tell the person to do anything about it? Or you just waited for it to happen? So a lot of things go into dreams and interpretation of dreams and whether dreams will materialize or they will not materialize. A lot of things.
Okay. Possibly, I believe that next week we'll go into what do we do if we get those dreams, those revelatory dreams, which tend to, if you will, communicate events that are ahead of us and how to deal with it and that kind of stuff. Let's talk to Na in Teshi. Good evening, Na.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Na?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
When you dream of constantly seeing your dead parents, in your dream, more especially in the state in which they were before they died, maybe they were sick, they were not able to take care of themselves.
Okay.
And then secondly, seeing animals, especially dogs.
Dogs.
Exactly. Sometimes they hold your hand, but they can't bite you.
Wow.
Okay, exactly.
You see dogs.
Dogs. They they cling onto your hands, but they can't bite you.
But they can't bite you. What was it a friendly handshake, or how did they hold your hands?
The dog with his mouth.
With the mouth.
If they really want to attack you, but when they take hold of your hand, they can't. So your hand is just in their mouth.
In their
mouth.
mouth.
Able to bite.
Okay, then that means that God only wants you to know that there are a lot of attacks around you, but you are still around because of His protection.
Protection.
Amen.
So He just wants you to know what the enemy is doing, with the assurance that the enemy is doing much, but his match is not good enough to destroy you because of His protection on your life.
Amen. Amen.
Okay.
And then the first one I asked, please.
That you see your parents are late, if I get it.
Yes, please.
Okay, but you see them in the state of how sick they were before they passed.
Yes.
Constantly.
In their helpless state.
In their helpless state before they passed.
As if you're still helping them.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Yes.
What does it mean?
It could mean that death is still crouching around, okay?
Within the family circle.
Within that circle. And that prayer ought to be made to destroy that.
You got it now? Okay, so pray. You need to pray. You need to pray. I will read this last one. Good evening, Pastor. God bless you for bringing this topic. Please, people always fight in dreams, and I always beat them. And then even at time to people pulling me into a ditch and always cover and overcome, and I always overcome them. But the interpretations by some men of God varies, and that's from the day.
Okay.
So you see, like in the the negative scenarios, you see yourself fighting with people. Sometimes you overcome them. Sometimes they push you inside the deep.
Okay, you are just in a spiritual struggle.
Okay.
But in spite of the fact that you're in a spiritual struggle, God keeps on giving you victory.
Amen.
So you just have to be on the alert. Keep on praying. Stand in God.
Okay, I believe we can close on this one.
Okay.
By all means, stand in God, be prayerful, and every dream. I mean, today you have learned something. Every dream you have, especially the revelatory, the ones that God is communicating vision or revelation to you, write them down. Write them down and pray over it, and you can share with a pastor or somebody who you know he has depth and wisdom in how to interpret and to stand with you in prayer. God bless you, Prophet. Definitely we'll continue this next week so that we can go into how to deal to interpret dreams and what to do in dealing with bad dreams. In case somebody might want some assistance to share something from this point, can you give out your number? No.
Maybe next week when I come.
Next
week when I come.
Okay. Thank you very much. God bless you, sir.